So if you didn't catch my previous video on design feedback, pause, take a watch that, and then come back here. I'll wait. Because this is part 2, criticism versus critique. What's the difference? What's the point? What does it matter? I'll tell you why in this video. Because this is a hill I will die on. I've been designing for over 13 years. I've been a part of so many design feedback sessions, so many critique sessions. I've given and received feedback. I've heard a lot. I've heard it all. I've heard most of it, probably. Plus, I make videos critiquing and reviewing packaging design, so I thought it would be fitting to do a video on the one thing that I focus on and why it's important to me. So I know that critique and criticism are often used interchangeably, but they mean two very different things, and you can tell by the way that they're spelled. They're two different words. Plus, no one ever walks into a design criticism. So what's the difference? Let's start with the critique, aka feedback, but I'm calling it critique for this video. Last video I called it design feedback. This time I'm calling it critique because of the alliteration in the title. So when we critique things, we're basically evaluating something. Keyword thing. It's a review. It's a review video, basically. So critiques are ideally constructive in nature. They're not necessarily positive, but they are constructive, meaning that there are actionable steps that lead to improvement. So now let's talk about criticism. So criticism refers to the act of expressing disapproval or judgment, typically towards something, but it also includes someone. So criticism can be personal. Criticism can get up in your business. Criticism is not something we need as designers because we already are so busy with our creative work. So unlike critique that focuses on good and bad and it feels pretty balanced, criticism typically just focuses on the negative, and also criticism lacks the constructive element that critique has. And in most cases, criticism can be said in ways that are harsh, unhelpful, or even hurtful. So I thought it would be fun and a little nerdy to zoom in to each of these words and take a look at what their root meanings are. You might think critique and criticism have the same root word, but you're wrong. Because I was wrong, because a really quick Google search told me that they don't. So critique comes from the Greek. I can't even say it, so I'm sorry. It's critique techne, I don't know, which also means the critical art when translated into English. That is a language I can speak. So critique techne is a verb that also means to examine or review. Kind of like what I do on my channel here. So I also saw that this word means to take a look at the good and the bad. So it's a very balanced, there's a balance there. So criticism, when I looked it up, that root word is actually krinine. You know I don't speak Greek. But krinine means to pick. And like one example was like you're at a market and you're shopping and you need to pick like the best thing, like the best vegetable or the best cut of meat or whatever. So there is a level of discernment there, but this word can also mean to pick at or find fault with, like a scab. Like that was a gross example, but also it kind of gets the point across. It is kind of like a scab. Like you pick at a scab and it kind of hurts. Sometimes it hurts a little too much and you bleed. And that's the visual I get when I think of this word. And also it was interesting when I looked at different translations of this word, there was more of a personal connotation. So the other one was like look at art. This one was like to pick at a person. So even at the root, they are very different. So for the most part, I can see how a lot of people can confuse criticism and critique because there is a really fine line. A lot of the time, they kind of look the same on paper, but there is a slight difference that makes all the difference. So, but this is my opinion, and I think this holds actually. So sometimes critique can feel like a criticism because mainly the relationship might not be there. If someone you don't know starts telling you everything you did wrong about your design work, like, that sounds like a hater to me. However, if my friend, professor, manager, if they said the same thing to me, then like that's a critique because they have my best interests in mind and they know that I can improve. So it is a fine line in that sense, but for the most part they're different. I'm just gonna say it again. Critique is about strengthening the design, not tearing down the designer. When design critique sessions start to make you feel small or, like, even worst case, attack your character, those have no place in a meeting or an Asana document or however you get your feedback these days. So that is all I have for design critique versus criticism for now. What did you think? Did you agree? Did you disagree? Did I leave something out? Did I not explain something as well as I probably could have? I just honestly don't know. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and until then, I'll see you in the next video.